All right. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us for our national kickoff of the BERNINA Air Thread Serger. So, first off, who's ready to be blown away? Woo! All right, I love it. We've got a live studio audience. Everybody's socially distancing. I'm Brian with Stitchhouse. This is Jessica.
Hello.
So, what are we going to do today?
Well, I'm not sure. No, just kidding.
That's terrifying, and it's true, too, I'm sure.
No, we are so excited to be here with you guys virtually. It's a little bit different because of COVID, obviously, but this is our first virtual event, and so we're happy that you guys are here to attend online with us, and we have a few people in audience, too, so this is really, really exciting. We've never done anything to this scale before, right, Brian?
Well, we've never done anything where the microphones have worked.
Yeah, we haven't done anything where you can actually hear us, but here we are, and we're so excited to do our first virtual event with BERNINA, debuting the new Air Thread Serger and cover stitch machine, right?
That's exciting.
Yes, so we have some really great things coming up for you today. Among the most important thing is we have a really special guest speaker
We don't have one yet.
Oh, we don't have one yet.
So, okay, she's already, we're literally 30 seconds in and she's already off script.
Okay, go ahead.
So what are you tuning in for, right? Like, where are we going to go? What are we going to do? What are we going to show? So let me just give you a quick rundown of what's going to be happening today. So we're going to, we are obviously going to introduce a special guest. You guys may or may not know who that is.
And it's not us.
No, believe me.
And it's not our dogs.
I'm told every day, you are not that special, honey. No one tunes in for you. So I'm getting used to it. Thank you. There's a couple sighs in the audience. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to look at the 850 BERNINA Air Thread Serger. So we're gonna spend a few minutes, look at that, see what everybody's so excited about. Then the thing that everybody's been waiting for, and I don't think it's been televised yet. So in fact, it better not have been televised yet. But the next thing we're going to look at is the new BERNINA 890 cover stitch combo. That is awesome.
It's phenomenal, you guys. It makes me it blows my socks off, so it's so cool. But
and she doesn't even wear socks normally. Lucky if I get her to wear underwear.
Okay, Brian, keep going.
It's live. What are we going to do? And then after that,
my mom is watching.
And then I'm just kidding. It's a joke. Please.
Okay, go on.
And then after that, we're going to move back over here and we're going to take a Q&A session. So I've already got tons of questions that are submitted.
We do.
I'm sure that the live audience is going to have questions, but this is virtual. This is interactive. I've got an entire team that's back there that can field your questions.
Frantically waiting by their computers.
They're ready. There are literally dozens of them waiting. So if you have questions, if there's something you specifically want to see, chime in. We'll see it, we'll get it, we'll answer it.
But we won't answer it.
Well, not correctly, probably.
Yeah. We have an expert here with us.
We do have an expert here with us. Before I get to the expert, though, we're almost there. What are we kicking off besides the new Sergers? There's one other thing that we're doing live today.
I do know the answer to this.
Give it to me.
The other thing that we're kicking off today is our Stitch University, which we have been working on for quite some time.
Years.
It's actually something I thought about a long time ago, even when I used to work for my mom. How can we bridge that gap between learning in the store and learning online? So that's going to be our debut of Stitch University will happen today. And we're really excited to be doing that with BERNINA because this Air Thread Serger is phenomenal, but it's going to require some lessons. And I know that not everybody can come to the store and take lessons either in person, or maybe you took a lesson but you don't remember what we said at 2 o'clock in the morning when you're sewing, which is typically the case. So we are going to have online learning modules as well as in-store learning modules, and they're all going to be available for you online on our Stitch University website. So that's coming up very soon.
This is exciting. Yes, so all of your guide classes will be online, so you can do them in your pajamas from your sewing room. No need to put on makeup and do your hair. Just log on, and so of course we'll still have our in-store events and our in-store education, and I don't know if you know this, but how many of these are we putting in our classroom?
Well, originally Brian told me we were putting 0 of these Sergers in the classroom, but I'm assuming he's changed his mind since then.
I did.
Okay.
6.
6?
No, 12, 13.
Oh, the number just keeps getting better.
13.
So we're gonna
13, we need one for the instructor. So we're going to have 13 of these in store for those of you that are close enough. Yes, you can clap. Go ahead, Tina, get it. Yes. No one wants to carry their machines to the store to learn anymore. And here at Stitchhouse, we don't make you do that.
No.
We keep them here anytime you buy a top of the line. And I promise you, if you are one of the select few that have a different brand serger, you're going to be ready to toss that thing out the window and come to the Bernina. So we only have top-of-line machines in there, and
Come
this
to the
is
red side.
to the red side.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's better than the dark side. So okay, but you didn't come here to watch us banter and talk and do all of that.
Maybe you did.
All of that fun stuff. You want to hear from the experts. So I've got a woman that a lot of you are going to know. Her name is Pam Maschey. So Pam has been on a lot of different shows. If you've seen Nancy Zeman's Sewing with Nancy, Martha Poland's.
We love Martha.
Martha, she's been on Martha's Sewing Room. She's been on Fawns and Porter, Love of Quilting.
She's an expert.
And I'm hoping, so I asked her to get her CV, and she sent it to me, and I'm expecting that the next time someone says, can you send your CV out, she's going to say, I've also been on Stitch TV with Brian and Jessica.
So welcome, Pam,
without
you
further
guys.
ado, let's bring Pam in.
Yay!
Hey, Pam.
I am so happy to be here. It really is exciting to be able to come and spend some time with Jessica again. Yeah. And, you know, I've known Jessica for a really long time.
A very long time.
A very long time. Actually, I've been working with overlocks and sergers for over 30 years, really. And the Bernina machines have just really blown me away as well, and I'm really excited to be able to share some great new features and samples with you virtually and here live.
So for those of you that are wondering or thinking, I thought Baby Lock was the best serger on the market. Well, you're not far off. It used to be, and that's the division Pam led. She did all of the serger over at Baby Lock. So when Bernina finally, after almost 10 years of developing this serger, said we're about a year away, and we need to get an expert on the team that truly understands the market, truly understands like what y'all need, because she's not just a teacher, she's a user. You're not just a seller, you're a user. She is a user.
And you know, there's very few people who knew my grandfather in the sewing industry. Very few people, because my grandfather was in the industry a long time ago, and Pam actually was my grandfather's rep back when my grandfather had a store. So she knows how far it's come. Yeah. And I don't remember Pam back then, but I used to play with your son, I think.
Yes.
When we were little in my grandfather's store. So we have known each other for a while, but now it all comes full circle and we get to be back together, right?
Exactly.
Yes. So what else, Brian? What's coming up next, and what should we expect out of what to see today?
Okay, so what we're going to do next is we're going to let Pam, we're going to do enough of the talking. We're done talking. We're going to transition over, and after we come back from this commercial break, we're going to see Pam on the L850 serger. But before that, let's go ahead and take a look at how this serger was actually made. Is that going to be on one of my TVs here?
Perfect.
There it is. Let's see how it was done.
Meet Steckborn, a charming small town in Switzerland situated between a turquoise lake and lush rolling green hills. It's the home of Bernina and the birthplace of the ultimate overlocker. The Swiss are known for precision. It's kind of our thing. And it takes time, hours upon hours. Because making things perfectly, exactly precise to the nth degree, that's all us. So when it was time to develop a new line of cutting-edge overlockers, we challenged ourselves, pushed boundaries, poured over plans, and engineered a machine we absolutely love. Then came the testing and optimization. We tested and tested and tested and tested again. Then, because we're Swiss, we repeated the tests. After all, precision is in our DNA. Then came production. Our new Swiss-engineered, mega-tested overlockers are produced at BERNINA, Thailand, the most modern sewing machine production facility in the world, where teams of experts precisely assemble our unparalleled next-generation machine. But why, you may ask, go to so much trouble? Other overlockers do just fine without all this fuss. You may be right, but no one ever fell in love with just fine. And that is precisely our mission. We want you to love your Bernina. From our engineers to those shaping each perfect part, to our test sewers, to the person who carefully packages your machine for its journey to you, to each member of our founding family. Every last one of us is committed to you, loving your Bernina. Experience a machine like no other. Join a family like no other. And love your new Bernina Overlocker like no other. Bernina, made to create.
Hi, I'm Jen Beeman. I'm a sewing pattern designer and pattern maker based in Chicago. I love that the new Bernina machine has 3 main functions: overlock, cover stitch, and the 5-thread combo. I love the new L890 because it has the same quality Swiss precision and engineering as the rest of the Bernina lineup. The one-step air threader is awesome. Not only is it easy and fun, it means your threads will never become tangled or threaded out of order. The color touchscreen is super easy to use, and the large icons make it really easy to see what you're doing. As a garment sewer, I really enjoy the free arm on this machine. It's perfect for all the little cuffs and little fiddly things that I always am working on. For larger projects and garments, the slide-on extension table is a must-have. It supports the weight of these larger projects and comes standard on the machine. As a right-hander, I really appreciate the extra space here so you can get your arm around and lift the presser foot easily. The L890 comes with the Bernina freehand system, which means you can raise and lower the presser foot using your knee. This is great because it gives you access to both hands while sewing. With this machine, you can sew with 2, 3, 4, or even 5 threads, which is really exciting because it gives you a stitch for every seam application and fabric. The needle stop up and down function is great. All you have to do is kick back on the foot control and your machine will move the needle a half step. The presser foot swings out to give you easy access to the needles while threading. Not only is the L890 super fast, but you can also adjust the top speed as well as the lower speed. The bright LED light is super helpful because it allows you to see every stitch, whether it's day or night. Using the foot control, it's easy to control the speed of the machine, enabling you to even do stitch-by-stitch sewing. One of the benefits of the screen is that there's a guided mode and an expert mode to help you set up your stitches. The guided mode contains a wizard for step-by-step instruction on how to set your stitches properly. The expert mode contains an overview so you can double-check you've got everything right. When you select your stitch, the machine automatically sets the thread tension, differential feed, and stitch length for you. If you're into decorative stitching or specialty threads, you'll really appreciate the Stitch Optimizer. There are helpful tutorials and a stitch consultant included in the machine, so if you have a question about a stitch or a fabric, all you have to do is look it up. Helpful animations are included to help you with threading and setup. You can save your stitch customizations using the personal memory. Your sound, screen brightness, colors, and speed are all saved for the next time you sit down to sew. Using a button on the screen, you can permanently set the needle up or down. This is great because while you're cover stitching, you'll likely want the needles to stop up so you can pull and lock your threads. But while overlocking, you'll likely want the needles to stop down. The stitch length, cutting width, and thread tensions are all adjustable while sewing, which is great because it adds precision to your creative thread applications. The overedge thread amount can be precisely adjusted using the easy-to-access micro thread control. The MTC is a great solution for making your flat lock seams even flatter. If you're a dressmaker like me, you'll also appreciate the differential feed for its ability to keep your shaped hems and curves flat while you sew. People ask me all the time what the secret is to getting clean, professional-looking garments, and there's really no secret. All you need is practice and a good quality precision machine, which is why I only use Bernina. I finally have everything I've ever wanted.
Bernina, made to create.
Okay, we're back, and we're over here at the L890. Now, what we're going to look at with the L890 is that it is a combo machine, and what that means is that it will do an overlock stitch, just as we were looking at on the L850, but you'll also find that it does have the capability of doing a chain and cover stitch as well. What we can also do is combine those together. Woohoo! So when we combine those stitches together, that's where it's called a combo stitch. And the beautiful thing about the combo stitch is that we have 3 different needle positions that you can place your straight stitch needle in, a chain stitch. So if, let's say, you're a garment sewer and you want to have a 5/8 inch seam allowance with an overlock stitch, you can do that using your needle in the left sewing position. If you want a 1/2 inch seam, you use the center needle, and a 3/8 of an inch seam is going to be in the right needle position. So you have a chain stitch and an overlock, whether it's a 3-thread or a 4-thread overlock for your stitching. So now when we're going to be stitching using the machine, you're going to find that you can do some added decorative things with your machine. But now most of us, when we're first starting to work with newer machines or different types of stitching, we may not always be real familiar with how that stitch is going to be set up. So the first thing you're going to notice on the L890 is that it has this computer screen. Okay? Now, that computer screen is not only an advisory screen, it actually changes the setting of all of your stitches for you when you make the selection of the stitch. Love that. Absolutely love that. So if you have any questions, you can certainly give them a call. The phone number is on the screen, and they'll be glad to answer any questions that you might have on that feature or on the machine itself. So now when we look at the guided and expert mode, there are 2 different modes on the machine itself. So sometimes, and we all think we're experts, right? So we go into the expert mode, and you can set your machine through that expert mode, and it takes you directly to that stitch. If you're not familiar with the machine or exactly what the setup of the stitch might be, you can go into the guided mode. So I'm going to simply touch the guided mode, and what it's going to do is lead me through the stitch. And let me get rid of that. It's going to allow me to select the stitch right on the screen. So I'll select an overlock stitch. And when I select the type of stitch, I see that there are different stitches there, and I can view them in a folder view, or I can select and read through the different stitches that are available. So let's say I'd like to do a narrow rolled hem stitch or a narrow seam. I find that on my screen and I touch it. So now it's going to take me through step by step on how to set up for that rolled hem stitch, screen by screen. So now as I follow through each one of these screens, if I'm not sure what foot to use, or I'm not sure what the pressure on my presser foot should be, or what that actually does, I can touch the video camera and it will show me exactly how to change the foot and also what foot I should be placing for that stitch. Pretty cool, right? All of the tutorials are built in. So as they said earlier that your classes are going to be online, some of the dealers have said, I don't even have to give classes anymore because it's all built right here into the machines. So that all of those tutorials are here and certainly give you the information. Now when I come onto a screen that I may not know what that feature might be for, I can simply touch the question mark and then touch that feature on the machine, and it's going to tell me exactly what that feature of the machine is used for, or what the stitch would be used for as well. And again, if I'm not sure of what a feature is going to be on the screen, I can simply touch the video camera and it will show me the threading of the machine as well. So take a look at that video that's built in. Very clear, very precise in how it's showing you how to set up your machine, how to use that air threader, so that every step along the way is going to be illustrated in a video format for you. You can cheer. Hallelujah out there too. Now, let's say you, and what this does, you see the stitching tensions across the top. What that does is it selects the tension for that particular stitch. But let's say you have a different thread you're going to use. Maybe you're going to use a really heavy thread. Well, you might need to make an adjustment. So what you can do is make the adjustment, and I'm just going to select the tension area, and I can adjust by sliding, or I can adjust by touching on the plus and minus on the outside of the machine, even as I'm sewing. So now, once I would have this stitch set the way that I want it to be, this is called total stitch control. You are in the driver's seat and you can set your stitch to your specific liking. However, there are also default settings. So if you like the stitch exactly the way it is, you don't have to make any adjustments at all. So what happens when you make the adjustment to that stitch and you just love the way it looks? Well, what you can do is you can save that stitch also. So you touch the little heart that's on your screen, and I can save this into my folder. And guess what? I can save over 100 different stitches right there on the screen. Okay? Yeah. So I can then label the stitch. So if you look at the screen and you see where the one right below, it says chain 8. I like to label my stitches, so I may label it fleece and the weight of the thread that I'm using. So that next time I'm going to thread up my machine with a different weight of thread, there I can simply go in and I touch on the stitch and I can set it to the kind of, label it the way I can remember it, right? And then I can also add a thread weight. And then I touch save. Okay? Now it's saved it into the memory, just exactly with those settings that you wanted. In the screen or the next screen, there are some manual changes that you can also make. Whether you want to have your cutting blade up or down, whether you want to change the pressure on your presser foot, you can make the adjustment. So maybe if I'm using a fleece, I may want less pressure with the weight of thread that I'm working with. So I can save that. Then when I go to the main screen, I touch the check mark, and now all of my settings are changed for that particular stitch. If you're a Bernina user currently, you already recognize that anytime that there is a yellow box around or the numbers are in yellow, that means that there's a change that's been made to that stitch. So you can also adjust your needle position on your L890s. You can adjust it to either, at this point, stop down or to stop up. And again, by simply tapping on your foot pedal, it would move the needle to the opposite position. Now you can also make an adjustment to your stitch length as well as your differential feed. And with the differential feed and stitch length, sometimes we're not always sure what those numbers actually represent. So there's a video that's there also. So as I touch that for the differential feed, it's going to show me at a 0.7 setting, it's going to stretch my fabric. Okay, and that is a lower setting than any other overlock. At a 1, it's feeding both front and back equally. And when I would move to 1.5 or 2 above that number 1 setting, it's going to ease or gather my fabrics. Now what you'll find, especially with the L890, because it is a combo machine, many times combo machines cannot gather very well with a 4-thread overlock. But since we have this set for a 4-thread overlock, I wanted to show you how when I step on the foot pedal and I've already changed the settings, I can get a great amount of gathering with a 4-thread overlock. Okay? Now, most of the time with a combo machine, you cannot do that with an overlock stitch because of the feed dogs and the feeding system. Many times, companies will say that they do not use a free arm because it limits the amount of differential feed. Well, you can very definitely see that you still have a great amount of differential feed and gathering, and we still have the free arm, and it does not compensate or decrease the amount of gathering that we have with that differential feed. Now you'll look at on this sample here where we gathered the strips of fabric to create that little puffing on the fabric. Okay? Here is an example of using the gathering, but this time using a chain and cover stitch. And I'm going to switch over for a chain and cover stitch so that you can see using that chain and cover stitching for decorative work also gives you added benefit to the use of the machine. Okay? So now when we change over to that chain and cover stitching, you're going to make a couple of different changes. So let me go then to the main screen, and I'm going to get rid of that stitch, and I'm going to go over to the cover stitch side. I'm also going to go back to my home page, and this time, instead of going through the guided mode, I'll use the expert mode, and I can simply select my stitch, select the check mark. Now it has already set the tensions for me on the machine. Okay? I have not had to make any adjustments. Okay? So when we make the adjustments manually to the machine, we're simply going to slide on a flat sewing table. And because we have this 5 5/8 inch wide opening or space that's here, it's going to allow you to do this decorative work and stitching in the middle of your fabric. Okay? Not only can you use this for piecing, but you could also use it for quilting. And you could stitch, again, in the middle of your fabric. And on this sample here, you see that straight line crosshatch stitching. That's all chain stitching. Okay? So now when I change over to the cover stitch, I need to pull down that upper looper. So I'm simply going to turn the lever over and step on my foot pedal, and it's going to lower that. It's going to lower that upper looper and put it into the down position. Well, it should.
Demo machine.
Demo machine, yes, these are prototypes yet. But when I step on that foot pedal, it brings that upper looper back down into position. So now I'm going to lower the cutting blade, and I'll put that table back on, and you'll notice that the table itself has markings that are on it. So that you can, if you're guiding for a specific position, you're going to find that you have, for a hem, cover hem is the term that's been used when you're going to be setting or stitching the edge of your fabric. So all of you probably have a t-shirt or a garment that if you flip the bottom of the hem up, you see 2 lines of stitching on the right side, and you have that cover stitch on the underside of your fabric. All right, so now when I'm ready to thread, we have again what's called one path threading. So anytime I'm going to be threading, my needles, the left needles, I'm going to be using the yellow threading path. So I don't have to get out a threading chart, and also because each thread always rests in its own threading position, I don't have to thread in a different position. Each time I use my looper, it's going to go in the same guide. It's going to go into the same position. Okay? Now, when I thread for my chain looper, the chain looper is threaded again right on the very top of the machines, and you're not having to thread on the side. And the beautiful part about the air threading with the chain looper is that your chain looper thread is going to come shooting out on the inside of the machine. It's not hidden under a door. You don't have to worry about that thread getting caught in position. So now when I thread that chain looper, I'm again going to just step on the foot pedal, and you'll see the thread come shooting out right here on the interior of the machine. Okay, very cool. As you are ready to stitch, for that chain or cover stitch, you can still use your differential feed if you wanted to. And on here, this is using to create this smocking, gathering, stitching with the differential feed and a cover stitch, wide cover stitch, and then using your sewing machine stitches on top of that stitching. Can they see that there? When you set the stitches, you stitch right on top of your chain stitching, okay, your cover stitch. Okay? We buy sewing machines, right, and we ask how many stitches they have, 5, 6, 1,100 stitches, and we use 2, right? So this is a great way of using those decorative stitches from your sewing machine as well. On this little dress also, using the 2-thread flat lock to join or add decorative interest on the inside of the garment as well. Okay? Here's another example of a faux smocking technique. Using and creating, many times we'll have customers ask, can I do heirloom work with my overlock machine? And absolutely you can. Whenever you do heirloom work, you typically run a line of stitching, you trim it, and then you zigzag. Where with the overlock machine, you can do all of that stitching all at one time because it'll trim it away. But here, this is using a narrow cover stitch and also a product that's called Texture Magic. And by using your Laura Star iron, you're going to be able to create that added steam, and that's what shrinks up the fabric to create that texture. Whether we did it on the bonnet or I did it on the bodice of this little gown. Now, as sewers, you never change your mind part of the way through your project, do you? We all do it. We all do it all the time. And that happened when I was working on this. I'm like, okay, I want to do that stitching, but then I want to add some lace. So when I had my setting for my narrow cover stitch, Bernina also has a feature on the machines that are called temporary altered stitch memory. And when you move between different stitches, whether it's a chain and cover, into overlock and back again, it remembers the setting that you had in the previous function. Love that? Yeah? So now, when you're moving between chain and cover and overlock stitching, you're not having to write down all of these settings, because if your sewing room is like my sewing room, you have no idea where the piece of paper is, once you've written it down, okay? Because you have stuff all over your sewing table. All of those features are in your machine. All of those settings that you can change and adjust and to your specific likings are going to be right here in the machine. It's not difficult to make an adjustment from one stitch to another, as you can see, simply by making the selection. And if I'm going to move from a chain stitch to a cover stitch, I simply come to my screen, touch the category that I'm wanting to select, I touch a cover stitch, it automatically changes those tension settings, and I thread. That's it. That's absolutely all you have to do. Okay? So what do you think? You love it? Yeah. Yes, yes. How many of you want one? Yeah, of course you do. Yeah.
I have a question.
Sir, let's let Holly get you so everyone can hear.
I have a BERNINA Serger, a 1300 now, and the feet that I have on it, will it work on this?
No. The
Okay.
feet are not interchangeable between the two machines because of the platform that the machine is setting on and the position of the needles. Because the presser feet are going to work with a specific machine because of that feature. Okay? But you can definitely see that it's a lot easier to change than your 1300, right? Okay? 5. There are 5 different needle positions that are on the 890. You have 3 positions for chain and cover stitching, and you have 2 needle positions for your overlock stitching. Okay? You can use them together, you can use them independently if you'd like. Okay? All right. Okay, so I think Brian has some great things he's going to tell you about.
I do. I've got lots of stuff that I can tell you about. Maybe, am I able to get over here? Do we have anything that can catch me? Or do I need to be in front? Okay. Go stand behind her. Okay. Whoa.
Here, I'll
this
move
is
out of
going
the
to
way.
be. Oh, he's coming to me.
He's coming to you.
Okay. So the guys are like, we're going off script. Holy cow. What are we doing? I just want to quickly say, because we're already getting like a lot of phone calls and a lot of messages saying what's included. There looks like there's some stuff in the bundle. What's the pricing? What is it normally? So Jess is saying, get on camera and tell them. So I'm on camera. Let me tell you. You see some pricing on the right-hand side of your screen. That is pricing that is exclusive today only. So normally this 890 is $7,999, and I promise you for $8,000 this is the best combo machine on the planet. But if you're looking to take advantage of special pricing, looking to take advantage of Stitch University, then today is the day that you can do that. So what comes with the 890? You get this awesome luggage today. The luggage is free, and it's beautifully designed. If you already have a Bernina, and you already have the luggage with Bernina, you know they make fabulous luggage. It feels like carrying Ramoa or Tumi or whatever at the airport. It's awesome luggage. But in addition to that, you get the big book of serging. This will be your playbook, your Bible. I've already started to look through it. Peg and Terry, who are going to be teaching our Serger classes and who are also working with Stitch University to get that curriculum online for you guys, have already looked through it, and Terry told me, he goes, oh my God, Brian, we've got a lot of filming to do. Yeah, so this is awesome. And again, if you're a Bernina person, you know we have the Bernina embroidery and sewing and the big book of feet. This is another addition to your collection. This is awesome. This comes for free. And then this Laura Star iron that's next to me, let me pull this over into the frame. This is not free. It's not. But
Almost, though.
But Bernina has partnered with Laura Star, and you get 25% off up to $500 on it. So for those of you that have not ironed with one of these, you truly are missing out. In addition, I was told just the other day that this is now COVID certified. So this actually kills any of the microbials or germs that are on clothing. So I know that, for example, if you're first responders, hospital workers, doctors, police officers, this is being used to steam their clothing and kill any of the germs that may be on there. So you get a 25% off coupon. Again, that's today only. That's with the $8.90 only. And what are you getting it for? $65.99. 65, yeah, I know. You can cheer for that, guys. Go ahead, you can cheer for that. $65.99, that's awesome pricing. And today, you can do 5 years interest-free financing. So for as little as $109 and $90, wow, okay, $110, I won't be that person. $109.98, $110, for $110 a month, you can get interest-free financing. And I heard someone mention the 1300D. We've got a lot of those out there that while your feet don't fit on this machine, I do give $1,000 trade-ins for that machine, which is probably pretty close to what you paid for it 10 years ago, unless you're Peg, who's convinced she paid $3,000 for that machine. Jackie told me, no, she didn't. She's just confused with her 43 other machines. But there are trade-in specials, so we are doing trade-ins, and I can tell you, your old Bernina is worth $1,000. That comes back to you in the form of a gift card. If you have one of the Janome air thread sergers, it's time to trade it in. That comes back to you. So for those of you that are machine collectors or that just have to have the latest and greatest and don't want to pitch your old machines to someone you love, care about, or the ones that you don't care about, give them to us. We'll take them and find them a new home. Or sometimes they just find the junkyard because there's no use for it. So I'm thinking that's pretty much everything here. Again, if you have questions, go ahead and call the number that's on the screen that is down here somewhere. I'm still getting used to this, but the number is down here on the screen. Go ahead and call us. We've got specialists standing by. Go ahead, send us a message if you don't get through. So there's a lot more calls than we anticipated. So what we're going to do is take a message, get your information, but I promise you if you call today, you're locked in at this price, you're locked in for the free gifts and the bundle. We just may not get back to you until later on this afternoon. Pam, what else have we got? Or are we getting ready to head to commercial?
I think we're going to go. There is one other thing that I wanted to show you is that when you are stitching, some of you were asking about 1/4 inch seams. So there's a number of different ways that you can stitch a 1/4 inch seam, whether it's with an overlock stitch or it's with a chain stitch. And the markings that are on the toe of your presser foot are going to help you when you're guiding with and wanting to stitch a 1/4 inch seam. So when you look at your stitching, you're going to look at the position that your needle is in, and then you're just going to move over a 1/4 inch to the marking that's on the toe of the foot, and then you use that as a guide. And you follow that marking that's on the toe of your foot, and then you automatically have a 1/4 inch stitch. Now you also have, when you're working with a overlock stitch, with an overlock stitch, 4 or 3 thread overlock, set your stitch width at 5.5 millimeters on your cutting width blade, and that will give you the 1/4 inch stitch. That's actually Eleanor Burns approved, that 1/4 inch stitch. But some of you may not like to have that added thread in your seam allowance, okay? When you're piecing your quilt together, okay? So give it a try. Try the chain stitch, try the overlock stitch. It's not for every quilt block. It's not for like a mariner's compass, but then I would never do a mariner's compass anyway. So it's for those long lines of stitching that are, and you'll find that with the differential feed and with the feed dogs that you have, it doesn't push and pull on your fabric that sometimes your sewing machine might on long strips of fabric. So I think we're going to go to commercial, and then we're going to come back and answer some more questions that you might have.
We're here to talk to you about a new product that we have out called Stitch University that we think is going to be a phenomenal thing for sewers everywhere. Right, Brian?
Agreed.
We're here to talk to you about a new product that we have out called Stitch University that we think is going to be a phenomenal thing for sewers everywhere. Right, Brian?
Agreed.
Hi, I'm Jessica,
And I'm Brian.
and we are with Stitchhouse in Plano, Texas. I know you love when I say that.
So Stitch University is kind of a long time coming, and for the last 2 years, Jess and I have created a unique experience for customers here in the store, and it's centered around education, having machines in the classroom, doing large events and bringing in speakers from all over the world. But we quickly realized that we're not capturing all of the people that want to partake.
Not
in it.
even like this much.
Yeah, we're capturing like this little tiny piece of Plano, which if you listen to any of the videos, Stitchhouse was apparently responsible for putting it on the map, so you're welcome, Plano. But so we wanted to figure out how to bridge that interactive component with the cool, fun stuff that Jess puts together here in the store.
It's something I've actually been thinking about for quite some time. Even at my mom's store, I always was wondering how we could put education online and it be cohesive and functional and really ready to use for the consumer, and I just never could figure it out. But now that we have technology and things have kind of progressed a little bit in the past 10 years, it's a little bit easier to kind of make this happen now. We're really excited.
And so we thought, what better time to kick that off than to do it in conjunction with BERNINA, with the new Q16, with the new air thread sergers in particular. And while we don't have the 890 here, Stitch University is fully encapsulating and taking advantage of all the things the 890 has to offer. So with that being said, how about we tell them how Stitch University works?
Absolutely. Stitch University is an educational online class platform. Thank you. And it's machine-based, a little bit different than typical like YouTube classes or sewing classes that you get online with other companies. Oftentimes what happens is, you go to make a dress or you go to make a shirt and you're watching this great tutorial or a quilt, but they're not using your sewing machine. So one of the biggest hurdles customers face is making their machine work for their project. And they often end up here in the store asking for help, and it's not about the project because they can learn how to cut things out and put them together online. It's about making their machine, choosing the right needles, winding their bobbin correctly, all of that kind of stuff. That's all going to be in the Stitch University curriculum.
Right. So specifically, what does Stitch University mean to you? When you get your Stitch University membership, you will have access to online guide classes. There's a 5 series part there. You're going to also have 9 modules that are pre-built that are going to go from everything from basic serging and cover stitching to actual projects
and advanced techniques such as a whole module on rolled hem, a whole module on like a three thread overlock, a 4-thread overlock, how to get that perfect cover stitch, adjusting tensions. There'll be different modules for different aspects of the machine, so you'll be able to go in and access them 24/7, 365, when you're in your craft room at 2 a.m. by yourself, whenever you need to.
Right, because getting into the store every day to learn is not always the most convenient, and obviously we're kind of in strange times right now, so maybe we're not going to see y'all quite as frequently as we'd like, but you still want to take advantage of what the machines have to offer. You still want to learn specifically on what you're buying. So with that being said, what does Stitch University cost? It is $2,000 for your Serger membership. What that gives you is lifetime updates on the curriculum, and that is going to continually evolve. You'll also have access to the in-store activities as well. So much like being part of our Stitch Collective, where you get to come in and do project-based skills learning in the store, that's also included. But with that being said, your membership fee actually comes off the price of the Serger. So that $2,000 that you spend comes off the price of the Serger, and then additional discounts are available. So
with your Stitch University
with your Stitch University membership. So what we're offering today is the $890 with Stitch University, with the free item bundle that comes with the luggage,
so much
the big
stuff.
book of serging.
It's a lot.
It's a ton. Free white glove delivery for those of you that are within a 30-mile radius of the store.
He just keeps adding things at this point. So.
And then...
And Brian, he'll come to your house too.
You don't want that. I eat a lot. So for those of you that have stock kitchens, it won't be like that.
He does.
And I'm not
He always
shy.
wonders why I cook for like 5 people, and it's because this is 4 people. No, this is 4.5 people, and I'm a half a person.
Oh, she's so damn. So the MSRP on the 890 that I don't have, what's MSRP?
$79.99.
And the bundle value is, I believe, $10,999, $10,099.
Once you get all the big book of surging, the
Stitch
University, the 25% off a
And-
Laura Star iron.
And what are we promoting this out for?
Oh, you're quizzing me on the spot.
$64.99. What you'll get is you'll get all of that. Stitch University, your online guide classes, your online modules. You'll also get the Serger, the 890. You're going to get the free bundle that comes with it, including your big book of surging, 25% off a Laura Star item up to $500, as well as the luggage that goes with your cover stitch Serger combo. And you're going to get that all for $64.99. So
That's-
one heck of a deal.
That's a very good deal. Stitch University will be evolving as well over time. So we're going to start with the modules that are just basics on guides on the machine, but over time we plan on adding all of the brands that we carry in the store: Janome, Brother, Bernina, Handy Quilter, AccuQuilt, and we plan on adding different modules, and you'll also have access to those. So we're not going to compartmentalize Stitch University. Once you're a member of Stitch University, you'll be able to access all the different modules that we have. So if you have multiple machines, which I'm assuming that you do,
Well,
then
who has just one?
no one. So then you'll be able to access all of those, and it will be an online learning platform that will continually grow here at Stitchhouse.
So you'll get to start taking classes the way that we like to take classes, in our underwear with our hair messy and a cup of coffee.
I prefer to not have to put makeup on. That's true.
Well, you don't need to.
Thank you. He wants something. Okay.
He wants to go home early.
It's not happening. All right, guys. Well, I hope that you enjoyed this video. Hopefully that was enough about what Stitch University is. I'm sure you guys will still have questions. So if you do have questions, please feel free to ask us in person, give us a call, or leave a comment on this video, and we will help you out. Right, Brian?
What's the number?
It's 972-596-5628, or you could just click on the contact button below the video, and that'll also show it to you.
Thanks, y'all.
He doesn't know how YouTube works.
I'm still figuring out MySpace.
Bye, guys.
Back in your spots.
All right, we are back.
Welcome back, you guys. I figured I'd start talking first so Brian doesn't share any more secrets about me without my knowledge.
I got in trouble.
I got a call from my mom and she said, "Jessica, really?" Anyway, I'm just kidding.
Let's rehash for those that weren't here earlier.
No, let's not. So anyways, I think this is the most important part of our segment, questions and answers. I'm sure you guys have been super intrigued by what Pam has showed you, but now you've got questions, and we're here to help answer them. Actually, we're not going to answer anything, and Pam's going to do all that.
Well, we'll answer what we can. I have a couple questions that were from Stitch University, but...
Okay, Brian, go ahead. Lead us off with it.
Okay, so for the first question, this says, I have an old Bernina 1300. Well, this is very open-ended. Why do I want the 890?
Okay, so my answer to that is why not?
That's easy.
It's a new Bernina.
Yeah, well, there we go. There you go. But and I can't speak specific to the 13 DCE, I believe is that number, but I did see it just briefly, and from what I saw, it was complicated. And you probably didn't use a lot of the features that were on that machine because of how complicated it was. And you can see from just the short amount of time we've been playing with the L890, it's very, very simple, very easy to use. You don't really have to remember a whole lot because it's all built in right there on the screen.
Pam, I don't know if you saw, we did a Facebook Live on, what night was that? Monday night? And Holly brought the 890 over to the house, and Brian did a cover stitch without just following the guided mode. Yep.
Yes, and we had, I forget who it was, I won't call you out, but someone called up and said, my God, Brian, you clearly didn't know what you were doing, and you got a beautiful stitch, I want that machine. Okay.
We had no idea. Okay.
I've got my Hollywood reporter, downtown Holly Brown, wants to field a couple questions from the audience. So we went to break, and everyone had questions. So I said, let's hold off and let's let everybody on Facebook and YouTube hear the answers. So let's go back here.
So when you're switching from serging to cover stitch, how many threads do you have to rethread?
2.
2.
So the question, when you're switching from serging to cover stitch, how many threads have to be rethread?
Now, it depends. If you're doing a chain stitch, you do 2. If you're doing a cover stitch, you do 3. Okay? So it just depends on the time. You rethread it, yeah.
Okay, what foot comes with the 890 and what other accessory feet are available?
Okay, good question. So with the L890, you actually have 2 feet that come with it. You have the standard presser foot, which is typically called the overlock foot. You can use that for chain and cover stitching, but it does also come with a chain and cover stitch foot, which is much narrower. So if you look at some of the samples where I stitched in the middle of some ruffles, that chain and cover stitch foot is narrower and it will not create drag. Or if you're going to be doing cover stitching for hemming and you're stitching over a seam, it doesn't, the foot itself doesn't catch because it's narrower. Okay?
Are there other accessory feet?
Yes. Yes, there will be other accessory feet that are coming. They will be available by the end of the year. And there are at least 12 right now. Yeah.
Wow.
Right. Okay, so question number 2 that was submitted to us. How many stitches, I'm guessing, how many stitches does the 890 and the 850 have?
So sometimes, people ask about the number of stitches that you have on an overlock. And it really isn't the number of stitches that you have, it's what you do with the stitches that you have. You're going to find that the combination of stitches on an L850, there are 14, and on the L890, there's 27.
Okay. Question number 3, air threading versus manual. Which is guaranteed with the best accuracy?
I can tell you
Well,
that.
I think our studio audience can probably answer that one. Air threading,
Yes,
right?
definitely,
Right?
no doubt about it.
No doubt
I
about
just want people to know that I've been alive since there have been air thread sergers, basically.
Oh, so she doesn't even
So
know.
I don't even know how to thread a regular serger
The
when
only
you guys
serger,
come in.
that's not true. Jess does know. She went to Bernina Academy and thread.
I did.
And when we came back to Dallas, I asked her to
forgot.
redo it, and she said, I've slept since then, so.
That's very true.
But that's common, right? I mean, how many people in here have slept since the last time they thread their serger and forget
Or
how to
took a
do
class.
it? Yes, exactly.
Well, and even with the introduction of other sergers, they tried to make the threading process easier by changing the configuration of the lower looper. That was always the one that
But
was
it's never
never.
It's never been this easy.
And remember what we said earlier? What else does air threading allow you to do?
In any order.
Yay!
Yay!
Any order, yes. All right. Give Tina a spool of thread. Question number 4. What are some unique projects, what different projects can you make with a serger? So
Okay.
I guess I'm assuming other than apparel.
Sure. So I showed you a number of different projects that you can make. And when you're working with your overlock or your serger, again, being able to introduce, and I talked with them about getting some other kinds of threads here
I've
in
got
the
a list.
store. She's got a list
We'll have it
going
soon.
already. Because you can see the decorative capabilities that you can do with your overlock and sergers as well, whether it's a chain stitch or it's a cover stitch or an overlock.
Oh, this one's
Let me
actually.
ask this
well,
one.
You want to? This is a great one because this is great for Pam and for I think a lot of people in the audience. Number 5.
Number 5, I have an older baby lock. Is this worth the upgrade, Pam?
Well, yes, I would have to say.
Which baby lock?
Well, yeah, and it depends on which baby lock you have too. I mean, baby lock has been making sergers for a long time. They really have. And all top of the line machines are great machines. But what you have to look at is the ease of use. When you're working with top of the line, especially with the L890, you're going to find that, as we talked about earlier, the one path threading is really what sets this apart. Having the screen, which sets each one of your stitches, is a big feature. You don't have to really remember a lot of settings. You're going to use more settings because they're right there at your fingertips.
And just so simple when, I go back to our Facebook video because I'm telling you, we truly did not practice before we did that Facebook Live. And we were able to just step by step watch each video and say, okay, I don't know where, my blade on off is, but I just watched this video and boop, there it is right on the side. It was so cool.
It was really
I was
neat.
only yelling at Brian slightly behind the camera, so I'm like, you can't do that.
God, we have different versions of slightly, or different definitions at least.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, question number 6. How does the needle threader work and how easy is it?
So on the L850, there is a built-in needle threader, and you use it just like your sewing machine needle threader. On the L890, there is not a built-in needle threader. There is the manual needle threader, and all of your tools are going to be right here on the front door of your machine. So you use the manual needle threader, and you're like, really? Why is that? Because there are 5 different needle positions that are on the L890. On the L850, there are 2. So they can easily rock that needle threader from a left position to a right position.
Yep.
Okay.
Cool.
Plus, quick,
keep
just
going.
add this real quick. Remember, you have your swing out presser foot. That when you are going to be threading your machine, you can push that presser foot out of the way, and you can easily access the needles as well.
Which was just, we were, I will tell you, I don't have as much experience with Bernina sergers as I do Baby Lock, and when I saw that, I was like, oh my gosh, that's so cool, and then Jackie's like, we've had that at Bernina, so.
Well, it was there, then it went away, and now it's back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think that's a really cool feature.
Yeah.
Number 7, you want to read it?
Sure.
Okay.
What is the advantage of the 4 versus 3 spools, or even 5 versus 8, or what's the advantage of the spools?
I think that was on here too, so let's go
The number
to it.
of spool positions. So when it kind of goes along with the number of stitches. How many stitches does it have? So when you're looking at the 4 thread versus 3 thread, it's just how you're wanting your stitch to look. So let's say, for instance, you're going to be doing a decorative stitch. You really wouldn't want to use 4 threads because the 4th thread is a needle thread, and it's going to run right through, if these are your overlock stitches, it's going to run right through the middle of that overlock and really kind of distort the look of that decorative stitch. So that would be a 3 thread stitch then. So if you're working with a lighter weight fabric, then you may want to use a 4 thread stitch. A 3 thread and a 4 thread stitch are still going to have the same amount of stretch and flexibility that you would have if you're working with knitwear, or if you're going to be creating seams, they still have that same stretch. If you're working and wanting to create like a factory looking seam where it has a chain stitch and then it has an overlock stitch along with it, that's called a combo stitch. And again, we talked earlier, you have the varying needle positions for 5/8, 1/2 inch, and 3/8 of an inch stitch, seam allowance width, and an overlock.
So this one I think you covered, but let's just add more clarity to it. How do you adjust the tension? Is the tension automatic?
So again, it depends on which machine you're going to be working with. On the L850, you have the manual adjustments. Now, I also don't like to call them tension dials because that kind of makes everybody tense.
Yeah.
I like to call them thread control dials because that's really what they do, is they control the amount of thread that either is being laid onto your fabric, and the higher number, it's what's being pulled back. It gives you total stitch control of that stitch. On the L890, it's automatic. And
That was probably the question.
You
The
can-
890.
yeah,
Who wants the 850? I want the 890.
890. Yeah, that's the way I would go.
Okay, I'll ask this next question because I could see some of them that have kind of been answered.
What number?
I'm going to go to number 11.
11.
Yeah.
Guys, we're going off script. She's cherry picking.
I'm cherry picking. Yeah. Okay. How easy is it to flat lock the inside seam of spandex using either the 850 or the 890?
Okay, so when you're doing a flat lock stitch, the 2-thread flat lock stitch is what you're going to be using. So it doesn't really matter if it's in, what did that say, an inside seam of spandex?
Yes.
So it doesn't matter if it's the inside or the outside seam, but you're going to be placing the wrong sides of your fabric together. So when you stitch and you open your seam completely up or flat, then you have that serpentine stitch showing on the right side of your fabric, okay? 2-thread flat lock actually has 2 different sides to it. If you put right sides together, you end up with a little ladder stitching.
Okay, this one I want to ask because this one I question anybody that saw me do my cover stitch probably is well aware, and Jess threw me to the wolves and didn't tell me this was possible.
Well,
She didn't. Maybe she didn't know it was possible. Honestly.
no, I knew. I just don't know how to do it. So this question's for me.
So this is your question. Okay, number 12, Jessica from Plano, Texas. How do you end the cover stitch and take it off the machine without threads pulling on the work?
Okay. Good question, good question. With the 890, you can sew off of your fabric. You can chain off of your
Yes.
fabric.
You can't do that with other cover stitch
That is
machines.
No,
cool.
you can't.
That is cool.
You cannot do that. And with chaining off, the other really cool thing that you can do is you can create your own yarn.
Oh, it's so cool.
So if you have, everybody's ears just kind of perked up. What are you talking about? So if you're out there and you do like to do handwork or knitting, sometimes you can't find the color of yarn you want, but you can find a color of thread. You could actually make your own yarn and you could knit with the chain that you create using your chain stitch.
That's cool.
so
yes.
cool.
Isn't that cool?
Yay! Okay, you guys, if you are a cover stitch person, you know you have to pull the threads, do the whole thing. It's complicated. I forget it every single time.
Yeah.
It's like when someone asks me how to show them how to do a blind hem, I just lose my mind and I
Yeah,
walk
you can do it
away.
every other time until they ask you.
Yeah, and then I'm like,
Yeah.
how do I fold it?
So when we were doing that demo the other day, Jessica said, she whispers in my ear behind the camera, she goes, "We're just gonna cut it. We're just gonna cut the video when you finish the stitch. Don't sew off the fabric. You'll screw it
I
up."
had no idea that you could sew off the fabric. I told him to it. I really was. I'm not lying. So that was my question.
Okay, that's awesome. I love that. Wow. How about number 13?
Okay. Number 13, how smoothly does it start and how much speed control is there for delicate work and curves?
On the 890.
Okay, so on the 890, you have a range in speed from 250 stitches to 1,350 stitches a minute.
That's
So-
called bat out of hell speed.
That's right, that's right.
I told him we're live.
That's not on my list.
But you can also go stitch by stitch. If you're going around a very delicate curve or on a fabric, you can go stitch by stitch using your heel tap on your foot pedal.
Oh,
That's pretty
very
cool, too.
Yeah.
So for delicate and very intricate things, very simple to get total control. Okay, number 14, how does air threading even work?
Magic.
Magic.
I got this one. That's easy. Magic.
It's magic. That's right. Yeah.
You
it's
don't need to
magic.
know. That's just for Jesse and Andrew and Lamont to know and you guys to play with.
I think this question got submitted because when we first did the demo and the unboxing of the 850, I made a joke. You know, most everybody's used to pressing the air thread, you know, hitting the
button,
lever or the button.
or the lever,
Yeah.
yeah.
And with the Bernina, we know we use the foot pedal now. So I said, watch this, Bernina's voice activated. And I said,
And we-
thread. And it goes, and then
And we got a few people
and
actually.
then we forgot to tell y'all
really
that was
tell
just
you.
a joke. So I have people, I think maybe Peg even said, holy cow, is that thing voice activated? No, it's not, sadly. That's
Actually, People that used to work for my mom in Tampa message me and they go, wait a second, is that voice act? I'm like, no, we forgot to let everybody know we were kidding. You have to use the foot control.
But it is cool to have both hands free, right?
Yeah,
That is
it
a pretty
is.
neat feature.
Yep. And you can thread both threads at the same time because you have the ability to step on the foot pedal and thread.
Which is so
So
cool.
cool.
That's cool. And we're always in a rush, right?
Of course.
How about the next one?
Okay, number 15. Can you adjust tension when stitching a flat lock seam?
Yes.
Okay.
Because you have an override or manual adjustments that you could make even as you would be stitching. But you
Very
don't
cool.
have to because it automatically adjusts it to the right setting with
So cool.
threading in the same path each and every time.
So this one came in just over social media a few minutes ago, and it says, the free arm looks really cool. Do sergers typically come with that?
No, they don't.
Oh, they don't, really?
No, they don't. And earlier I mentioned that many times they'll say they don't want to they don't want to downgrade their differential feed by adding a free arm. So by having your free arm, you still have the full range of differential feed as well with this.
And if you're 5'1" like me, everything needs to be serged and hemmed. So, having that free arm for pants and sleeves is really, really nice.
So question 17. This one's a, here, you want to read this? I can feel her like, she's creeping in on me. I know.
He does know me very well. Okay, number 17. What do you need 8 threads for, and why is it better just to have 5 threads?
So with an 8 thread, the 8 thread stitching, I always would ask why. You know, why would you need 8 threads? And the 8 threads combines chain and cover and overlock stitching. There really hasn't been a lot of use for the 6 thread, the 7 threads, or the 8 thread combination of stitches.
Awesome.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, number 18. What are combination stitches?
So combination stitches are the chain and cover stitching along with an overlock stitch. So
Okay.
it's just putting the two parts of the machine working together that creates the combo.
We use acronyms here, so this one is probably our fault, Pam, that you'll have to answer this. But number 22, what is MTC and is it even used?
Yes. So MTC stands for micro thread control. So inside your machines, and I'm going to open this door because we have it set for a cover stitch. MTC is going to regulate the edge of your fabric, the loops on the edge of your fabric, okay? So it's kind of a fine-tune adjustment that you can make. Earlier I mentioned when you turn on your cutting width, that outside stitch former moves with the cutting blade, right? The MTC is a fine tune because all of us like to have our stitches look a little bit different. So this will allow you to fine tune the edge of the fabric.
Okay.
So it's micro thread control.
Okay, I'm trying to look for, okay. This is, I think, going to answer a few people's questions because I'm reading some of the questions that we got from social media, and number 28 has to do with this. We have a lot of quilters in the group, and they want to know, why would I need a serger, or what would I use a serger for? So can you talk about some of the things quilters like?
So with the, earlier, we talked about using a chain stitch for piecing, or you can use an overlock stitch for piecing at the 5.5 millimeter wide setting. So you can use it for piecing long strips. You will find that your feeding does not canter your strips. So if you're stitching long strips together, you typically on your sewing machine sew from one end to the bottom and from the bottom to the top so that it doesn't stair step. When you stitch long strips with an overlock, you don't have to worry about that because it doesn't push or pull one layer faster than the other. Also, what you can do is you can thread your machine with a fusible thread. Add that to your list of thread to get.
Oh, we have it on. We have some fusible thread on order.
Yeah, and you put that in your lower looper when you're sewing your binding on, so that when you finish sewing your binding on, you turn the edge of your fabric over and press it, and like magic.
That
Is Quilter Select thread you're talking about that's fusible now? They've got a fusible. thread that just came out? No?
From
What
R.
brand?
I think it's the R&K maybe.
Do you know? No?
Well, that's
find
the
out
stuff.
for you.
I'll tell you, that's the stuff we've ordered. So I don't know what else there is, but
We'll
we have
look
that.
into that, but we'll make sure that you have some kind of fusible thread out there too.
Okay, and then one last question, I think. How about, do you overlock instead of binding? And can you discuss the benefits to quilters for that? An overlock instead of binding. What does that mean? Like bound, like
Do
when
you
they're doing...
overlock instead of binding? Well, you could just serge around the outside edge of your quilt,
I understand
maybe
what they're
with
saying.
a
Yeah.
decorative thread. You could do that.
That's unique.
It just depends on the look that you're wanting to have. I would probably put a binding. If I put that much time into piecing a quilt, I want a nice binding.
You know what's very time appropriate right now too is all these people that have been sewing masks. If you had a serger, it would go so much faster for you.
Absolutely.
So mask making and all that will really improve speed with a serger because you could just zoop zoop down your seams.
Right, and on the Bernina website, there's a 5-minute mask using a serger.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
pretty cool.
Now, any of you that are out there also, if you're new to serging, don't think, oh, you know, the 890 is just going to be too much of a machine for me. Because you saw on here that it does have that guided mode. What better place to start than having all of the information built right into your machine?
Brian can attest to that.
That's
Seriously.
true.
Brian can attest to that.
We tried it out for you guys, and we definitely
works.
figured it out. It
Yeah.
works. Brian, what do you want to kind of keep touch on to
Well,
wrap things up?
who gave this question? Holly from Houston. Well, this is a very interesting question. Okay, this question says, Jessica is always dressing for the job that she wishes she had, and it usually includes fancy hats and a vacation. Do you ever take her on vacation? I am actually getting
Look at
ready
you.
to take her on vacation now. So the answer is no. It's Corona, so I don't always take her on a vacation when she wants to go. But hopefully my green screen can switch to a fancy beach location, or did we not get that in? Do we have that?
Do we have a beat?
Okay,
No, we don't.
so
No beats.
the answer is, wow, that totally, thanks Holly for the question, and I was even ready for it, but
Go ahead, put your hat on, Brian.
but we're not going on a beach vacation because of Corona. But I will tell you that sometimes you don't need to take the vacation. So we had some stuff planned this year.
Oh, there you go.
Hey, so okay, the answer is yes. Yes, I take her on beach vacations, and sometimes I bring Pam along with us. So the answer is yes, I definitely take her on vacations. As you can see, because of Corona, sometimes we have to do things virtually. But I think one of the things
It feels so nice.
I feel like, and you don't even have to put sunscreen on.
Oh, I have sunscreen on all the
You know what?
time.
We look like we're on American Idol or something.
Yeah, we do.
You know, don't we?
We're the
like
three
the judges.
Yes.
We're the judges.
So
of
bring
American
your
Idol.
stuff up here.
I'm
But,
Paula.
so I'll be, I don't know. I don't watch it.
Luke.
I'll be,
Oh, you're Lionel Richie. Oh, you're Luke Bryan.
Luke
Oh,
Bryan.
oh my
You're Luke
God,
Bryan.
calm down, girl. I am not really Luke Bryan. But I'll tell you, so a lot of people have said to me this year, hey, we can't take the vacation, so what better place to take that money? Because we're going to go on vacation next year. Let's get a brand new serger. Let's do it virtually, because coronavirus doesn't stop us from having fun. It doesn't stop us from doing the things that we love, which are serging, which is sewing, which you can now do with Stitch University. So take advantage of it. Take advantage of the price. Take advantage of having a little time with your friends, and let's do some stuff that we love and enjoy. I'm getting these hands up.
From Holly in
Downtown
Houston.
Holly Brown has a question. So what do we got, Holly?
When is it going to be available?
Oh, that's a great
that is-
question.
okay, yes, because as you saw, these are pre-orders. So
This
when,
is an important question because
when
there's
is
a
it
deadline.
available? Talk to me.
So as they were talking about the virus, you know, the virus has affected everyone throughout the world, and also manufacturing has been affected. The machines are being produced, as you saw in the intro video, they're being produced at the BERNINA factory in Thailand, and We are starting to get the 890 machines in at the end of September.
Okay, that's not bad.
Did
Yeah.
you? Okay, I ordered. Did you order?
Did you order? Did you order enough?
Well, I hope I ordered enough, Holly. We need to up
that.
We just got news.
But what they are doing is, well, starting tonight, you're taking the pre-orders, and their dealerships are submitting those pre-orders so that they receive machines. Those of you that are wanting to have your machines right away, you submit a pre-order, and they give you a deposit.
Yep.
And then you are first in line to get those machines.
You were locked in. So
Yeah.
the answer, did we order enough? Holly
And
is
the
saying.
bundle's locked in, too.
And the bundle's
Yes, and you
locked
get
in
the
too.
bundle.
We ordered 50, and then Jess goes, "No, we did 100." And I said, and I asked her, I said, "Hold on a second, did you say 100?" And she said, "Yes, I said 100." And I asked my rep, Holly, I said, "How many is everybody else ordering?" And she said, "I don't know, like 4 or 5. I said, "Did you at least see it?" And Jess goes, "No, honestly, when it came in the other night, that was the first time I saw it. I just knew that we would have a good deal and we'd sell a lot." So you terrify me.
Honestly, I will tell you, I grew up in the industry. I've seen lots of machines. I see them when they come out. This is one of the first machines I've ever seen that I have just been so blown away with. I will tell you, we were on a phone call with Paul a few weeks ago, and I was like, "Paul, I just have to confirm, it's going to air thread the cover stitch?" And he's like, well, in his very dapper, well, yes, Jessica. And I'm like, oh my God, I was blown away. So there is a very few times that a new machine comes out and it just blows my socks off, and this is definitely one of those machines.
I think this is the coolest thing that Bernina has released in
a long time.
Yes, for sure.
Go ahead, let's clap. That's awesome.
Any other questions from the back, Holly? We've got one right up here.
Luella.
Miss Luella.
So you asked about the baby lock, the older one. Compare the new baby lock Triumph versus this one.
Sure.
Okay,
Triumph
so
versus 890.
The Triumph versus the 890. So when you're making an adjustment, and I have an illustration I can show you, if you're going to be changing to a different stitch, let's say it's a 2-thread flat lock stitch. What baby locks have are automatic thread delivery, which is called ATD, and that ATD is setting a stitch a specific way, right? But it also requires you to thread in a completely different position or place for a different stitch. So it requires you to put a needle thread into a looper, come down through the machine, and then bring it back up and then over to the needle. So many times you're not going to use those stitches or not have full access or use your machines to its full capacity because of the different threading configurations that you have. And here you have that one path threading. You're also going to find that all of your stitches are set for you, so that when you make a stitch selection, you're not having to remember, now where do I put a specific setting on the machine. It automatically makes that change for you.
Yeah, that's really big, because I often hear, like, one of the biggest things with serging is, you know, I just wish it was easy. Yeah. And we know that very rarely has Bernina been a company that makes everything super easy. They did this time. And,
they
with
nailed
serging,
it.
And with serging, that's a feature, right? Is just ease of use.
Ease of use is
I
a
think that's a
feature.
huge feature.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
Yeah.
Very awesome. All right, Brian, anything else?
No, I want to.
I see a question on here I do want to answer. The question comes in, and it's asking about a wave stitch that a baby lock machine has. And yes, you can create wave stitches on here because you have total stitch control on your machines. You can adjust the stitch and create a wave stitch on the machine as well.
Wow.
Very cool.
That's really cool. So there's nothing like it.
Yeah.
And I think Pam has really shown us that today, right?
I think so. So if you guys enjoyed this, if you want to see more videos, more stuff like that, go ahead, subscribe to our YouTube channel, give it a thumbs up. We appreciate it. A big thank you for the live audience that came in today. Thank you, guys. And of course, the biggest thank you to Pam and Holly for coming in. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think we should have Pam back.
Oh, yeah.
And I think
Post-COVID,
Yes.
and we'll come back and do a nice, I'm sure.
We
Some
could,
big-
we
some
could
big
even
events.
stream in.
Oh,
we could stream in and we could talk about some different features
I
or
love that
do
idea.
some threads.
Yes.
Or, whatever you want to talk
I
about.
love it. We're
Yes.
creating right now. So, anyways, thanks for tuning in.
Thank
for
you guys
myself,
so
Brian,
much.
Jessica, Pam, we loved
And the
it.
whole Stitchhouse crew. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.